Hello, this is Serrano Keith Bailey from Texas Justice Review. I'm in the middle of elections here. Judges are running for elections in Dallas, Texas. And I am in the middle of it. I ran a newspaper for over 2 decades in Paterson, New Jersey, and I covered politics, government, courts, cases, dangerous cases, civil cases. And I know a lot about a lot. Not a thing or two about a thing or two, a lot about a lot. So what we're going to talk about here, this is Monica Purdy. I posted something on social media that says Serrano won his first appellate court case. And people want to know what I got phone calls, I got messages. What was that about? So I'm going to tell you about this judge. I'm going to tell you about her decision, and I'm going to tell you how I won, why I won. Pro se. A lot of people think that you have to be a lawyer and you have to have a law degree to win a case. You don't. So the thing that you want to do first is to get the respect of the judge you're in front of. And you've got to show this judge that you're intelligent, you're not stupid. And your credibility, your background has a lot to do with it. But despite that, judges are still going to disrespect you if you do not have a law license or if you do not show up with a lawyer. Keep that in mind. You've got to make sure you present yourself very well. You know the law, you know your business, you know what happened to you, and you're ready to let them know this is the law, this was violated, and here's the evidence. That's the 3 pillars. So I went before Judge Purdy because I ran for city council in Dallas District 10. My opponent lied on her application. We're not just talking about a number or a letter. I mean, she flat out lied and defrauded the entire election process, not in many different places. So I sued her. I looked at the laws, I understood the law, and I filed a complaint. And the automatic system, if you want to call it that, in Dallas County, sent it to Judge Purdy. So I go before her, and the case went before her. And she sat on it. She sat on it doing nothing. I'm going to tell you why the appeal might be a setup to take her out. It might be a setup. You know, I have somebody who was my friend, and I still hope she's my friend. She has a family member in the judicial system, and she always says that they rig the system. They rig the system to send cases to different judges and people that they want. And I can tell you I agree with her. I 99.9% agree with her. They want a case funneled to a certain judge, funneled to a certain place. They can do that. So this case, I'm not saying this case. I'm not going to say this case. But this case went to Judge Monica Purdy. She's sitting on it. And I'm like, wait a second. So I researched the law. And election cases are very clear. A civil court judge that gets an election case must set aside all their other cases and pull in that election case and deal with it within a statute of limitations. When you get a case, I think the statute falls from 21 days to 14 days to 15 days to answer, sometimes 10 days. When it's ongoing, you filed a motion, and I had the case law here, but I don't have it with me. You filed a motion for the case to have a 5-day expedited notice and a 7-day to trial. That is the law. So when the case went before her, she sat on it. She was sitting on the case. So I'm not stupid. I did an emergency motion to bring up the case and a temporary restraining order. And that, when you file a temporary restraining order, 2 hours, they got to hear it. The judge got to hear it. And so she came and she heard it, and I said, this is an expedited case. Set the case for trial, set it for hearing. Okay, fine. She didn't set it. So again, I had to file a TRO. Bring the other side in. Were they served? Yes. So anyway, we finally got a hearing. And I think the hearing was at April 11th. No expediting. That the law says you got to expedite. Judges got to follow the law. Don't follow because the person is pro se, doesn't have a law license, and the other person has 3 attorneys on the other side, Kathy Stewart, the councilwoman. Don't do that. It is an injustice, and it's plain unrighteousness holding a high seat like that that is governed basically by divine power. That's what the judges' seat were, all by God's conscience. So anyway, we went, and the minute I started talking, she started questioning me, and her questions were suspect. I said, okay, why is she questioning me? Shouldn't she be questioning them about the fraud? And they brought up three things about, he has to reach these three criterias. These are case laws. No, election cases are very clear. You only go on the merit. You have to look at the merit of the case. Did Kathy Stewart lie on her application? Did she put false information? Anything was out of place? You void the application. You give it to the next person in line with the higher votes, which happens to be me. So she committed fraud. Technically, I am the councilman of District 10. But she does not want to recognize that. And I'm very suspect of this. So anyway, she dismisses it. Told the Dallas Morning News, they went in courtroom, picked it up. The other side, case is dismissed on the time and jurisdiction. I said, okay, want to play this game? Let's play. So she made her decision on April 11th. And I'll tell you what the appellate court had to do with her. And it's not pretty. I kind of feel like they're trying to set her up. But they're giving her the opportunity to do the right thing. Do the right thing. So what happened was she held her decision from April 11th, or her clerks, until April 15th, and finally released an expedited case. You release your decision on the 15th when you made the decision on the 11th. And I am waiting for this decision to appeal her. Maybe she knew that. But anyway, on the 15th, then the clerk or her released the opinion. Case dismissed, whatever. I immediately grabbed it, went to the appeals court, notice of appeal. And then I served it on her court, and her clerk called me and says, did you file an appeal with us? I said, no, I notified you that I filed an appeal. That's all I did. And so by the evening, she sent a different ruling. Oh, I do have jurisdiction over this case. It's already in the appeals court. Now you have jurisdiction 5 days later after I filed a notice of appeal. And I told her on the 11th I was going to appeal her decision. I told her that in court. And she didn't think I was smart enough. Maybe a lot of people look at minorities and people like me and they figure we don't have a brain. But people like me have built massive cities, massive countries. Go to anywhere in Europe and see the kind of massive things operating. Don't look at the color of my skin and think that I'm arrogant or ignorant or uneducated, okay, and unintelligent. I don't know what she was thinking. I'm just saying that. So despite that, after I filed the appeal, evening, she said she has jurisdiction. I said, okay. But I had sued, I use the word sue. When you take a judge to another judge, I call that a law. It's my personal opinion. This person sued this judge in this court. When you take somebody to a higher court, it's a lawsuit. They're saying it's just an appeal. Yeah, same difference, right? So I went to the appeals court. I complained. This Janice Garcia was messing up the case. Tina Clinton, justice. He's a justice. Says just obstructing justice. And I said, okay, we're going to play this game. So I filed a motion. When she said that she had jurisdiction, I filed a motion, a 4 to 5 page motion saying, hey, she said she has jurisdiction. Such and such happened. This happened in the case. I was on the law. She was not on the law. She was not representing the facts and the things. And I filed out with the appeals court, and they've been holding it since June 6th, I think. Finally, 3 judges decided that they were going to have an opinion on this before they closed it. And let's see who those judges are. So justices, not judges. So 3 justices sent a mandate to her, right? It is Justice Lee, Justice Lewis, Republican, and Justice Goldstein, Democrat. Okay? So, and here's what they said. To the 95th District Court of Dallas County, greetings. Before this Court of Appeal is the 5th District Court of Texas. On July 6th of June, on the 6th day of June 2025, this cause of appeal, the cause on appeal to revise or reverse the judgment between Serrano Keith Baldio, Kathy Stewart, councilwoman in official capacity, has determined that this court made this order in these words. In accordance with the court's opinion on this date, we dismiss the appeal, which is very important. They have to dismiss that appeal, which was my request, and then remanded back to her since she said she has jurisdiction. So they did what I asked them to do. Therefore, we command you to observe the order. We command you. Guess who's running for the Court of Appeals? Yes, 6th place, right? But her possible colleagues are telling her, we are overturning your decision because you made a bad decision on this guy, Serrano Keith Baldio. And we commanded you to observe the order of the Court of Appeals of the 5th District of Texas in this behalf and have it duly obeyed and executed. And guess who is the other person that signed off on it? Witnessed the Honorable J.J. Cox, Chief Justice of the Court of Appeals with the seal of affiliated on 18th of August 2000, on the 18th of August 2000. They sent her a mandate to rule on the merits of the case. The merits, not politics, not whoever was in the courtroom and has 3 powerful attorneys, this Republican. This is a Republican. I am an independent. I am a minority. And she chose that over me. And she wants to run for election for the appeals court. This was sent to her on the 18th as well. On the 27th of August, today is September 9th. On the 27th of August, I filed with her another motion telling her or reminding her the Court of Appeals have ruled against her and they want this case ordered to trial. The election code requires that a judge removes all their cases and take an election case. 5 days service to the other side because they've already been served. 7 days to trial. Today is the 9th. This was I filed with her on the 27th at her courthouse. She's done nothing. I looked on social media. She's campaigning. You're campaigning and I'm cheated out of my office. I'm defrauded. I am robbed as a minority. And you're protecting a white Republican that you guys call racist and the reason you should be against the Republicans? I have often contended that when people are running for office, they fight. Democrats fight against Republicans. But when they get on that seat, they're all and one the same. They're friends, they're colleagues. They go to the same events on retired judges. They go to the same country club. They see each other, same restaurants. They're not enemies. So she's friends with the Republicans. If the Republicans wants to be friends with her, or maybe the Republicans does not want her. Maybe they want her out, blocked from the appeals court. Maybe the Republicans don't want her in the appeals court. Because I tell you something, if her opponent, who's her opponent? So her opponent, because she's got to be a primary, she just can't take the seat. Her opponent is, let's see, place 6, this guy, right? You see him? It's a white guy. Justice Craig Smith was elected in the 5th Circuit Court of Appeals in November 2020. Prior to that, he was the presiding judge of 192 Civil District Court of Dallas. So they're jumping. These are judges who jump seats. They get elected here, they stay there for a while, and they jump to another seat, a higher seat, and that's how that works. Politicians do the same thing. They jump office, they go to school board, then they go to city council, then they go to Congress. People do that all the time. So they use that platform to advance themselves, right? So this is her opponent. Let me blow up his image. Can I get a better image of him? Let's see. Let's go to social media. Image. There he is. Can we get a big picture? Nope. These guys run for office and, have a good picture of yourself. Here's on Facebook. Okay, can you see? All right, you can see a little clearer there. Decades of legal. This is the guy that Judge Purdy is going after, right? She's got to get past him. He's on the appellate court. If he finds out that they commanded you by order to take this case, an election case, against a minority, against a minority that was cheated out of this, and you sat on this, you ruled against him. It was ruled against you. He was right, you were wrong. A pro se person was right, you're wrong. And then they send it back to you and they commanded you. And you still, basically he'd say, we commanded you. She still did not obey the command of an order by the appellate court. This is an order by the justices. This is not a suggestion. This is not a, hey, take heed, let's get this going, I'm trying to get it. I think we know who this guy is. So this is what they're telling her to do, and she doesn't want to do it. She's out campaigning. She's out campaigning for the very seat that is telling her, take care of this guy's business. He was cheated. He was robbed. He's telling us that. Go ahead and rule and look at the merits. Give him the seat if he was cheated. Just look at the merits of the case. Well, she's not going to be looking at that. So now I have to do a TRO. Now I have to do another, because that's how I got her. In the beginning, she sat on it. I had to do an emergency motion based on election law that you must expedite these cases. And she sat on it, and the ruling, she sat on that. I don't understand. I mean, I met her at the Texas Blue event, and she seems like a nice person, but niceness doesn't get me, okay? I was in her courtroom, and she was not very pleasant to me. You do have to stand up when you speak to a judge, but I was seated when I had to respond to something, and she goes, stand up. She yelled at me. Nobody yells at me. I'm a publisher. People are going to know about that. Don't mistreat people in your courtroom. There's a nicer way to say something in your courtroom. Mr. Bowley, could you please stand when you speak to address the court? What's wrong with that, right? Anyway, they commanded her. JJ, Republicans signed off on it. And let's see, what else is happening with her? I know I had something else. And anyway, I've had my troubles with this case. Justice Garcia jumped in on this case, and she made some orders, and I had to rebuttal her order. And then Justice Tina Clinton jumped on. They seem to just see how there was three justices that made this decision. There's only Clinton alone, and there's only Tina, and I got to look into that investigation about them. So here we are. Still nothing on my election case, and she's running for the seat that ordered her by command to look into my case and try it. I don't know if the Republicans are smart, they will let her win the primary. If I was a strategist right here, I'd let her win the primary. And after she wins the primary, then I would take all of this, because JJ knows about this, right? If JJ knows about this and he needs more Republican justices, he can use this to show she had a minority that was defrauded in Dallas, Texas, out of a city council, and she played around with that case. He had to come to us and complain. Then we had to reverse her decision because he was right. And then we commanded her by order of the court to try this case under election laws, which just means 5 days, 7 days. And she still did not protect his rights, a minority. How do you expect her to respect anybody's rights? If I was a strategist, I would let her win I would help her to win the primary. Another thing that I think that they're worried about is if this case, Stewart versus Baldio, stands, and anybody finds out that a candidate lied on their application, what the opponents are going to do is they're going to sue and say, hey, this person lied on their application. And then they're going to quote Kathy Stewart versus Baldio. Judge Purdy ruled on that already, and she ruled it's okay. There's no jurisdiction here and time between the election, because by the time you submit your application, to be on the ballot, and the time of the election, Judge Purdy ruled that was too close to the election. Election law states, no. If you file before 50 days before the election, they have to expedite it here and deal with it. But she allowed it to get too close to the election, and they didn't even print the ballots yet, but she still dismissed it. I went to the appeals court. I made my legal arguments. I won my legal arguments. I won against her, and they denied her and revised the decision, reversed her decision. I'm pro se. When I come to you with the law, and when I come to you with the truth, I don't care how powerful the other attorneys. I don't care if they've got $1 million in assets. I just had to deal with it in bankruptcy court. Attorney, and they came in and they filed all kind of squash the case. The law says the bankruptcy court has to squash the case. They can't send it back because it's part of the claim here, and the judge disagreed. I beat them too. So I know what I'm doing. You don't need a lawyer here. You need a judge who's going to say, are you correct on the law? Yes, I am, Your Honor. And I'm correct because you have to, under this section code, they're on default judgment. And because they're in default judgment, you can't go back and you can't reverse this. And Kathy Stewart was in a default judgment. She still is in a default judgment. So I don't know if she's going to try it or rule on the default judgment. Default judgment basically means that they can't present any evidence or motions or anything like that to defend themselves anymore. The judge now has to go on the merits of the case without any objection, because after a default time has been clocked on somebody, you can't say, hey, this and that law, even though they may be right. Once that default is clocked in, they can't bring it up, which means I win. I win by default. There's another case with my ex's lawyer, Warner, won by default because she has 60 days to answer, 105 days to officially make any claims, and she didn't. And she's trying to get it dismissed. No, a default clocked in. So now you got to look at what the guy is owed. What is he owed? And she's got to look at this and say, look, a default clocked in. But I think she still has to look at the, in this case, it's not monetary. So because it's not monetary, and she can't look at how much money I'm claiming against Kathy and give that to me, but she has to look at the evidence and say, hey, well, you know what happened here? I can't just give you a default receipt. I do have to look and see whether or not, because you're not asking for monetary damages, I have to look and see whether or not she really did commit fraud. And if there's one thing on this application that is incorrect, just one, it voids the application, she's out, you're in. So that's where we are with Monica Purdy today. And I see if I can find out where she's campaigning. See if I can find these things. I'm losing time on my seat, and you're campaigning, and they ordered you by command to take this case, and you don't want to take it. Let me see. This woman is always posting things. So I think she's a judge. Denise something. Let's see if we can find her. Let's enter just Denise. Okay, I in the future I'm going to have these kind of things. This might be hard now. Ready to Denise Garcia, 2020. Oh, Denise Garcia is running for re-election. We're going to go after her too, based on what she did to me. No. I went after her before and I won. Let's see. There's me and her. Hopefully when people Google it, they'll see more. But anyway, I wanted to show how this there was campaigning going on with Justice Purdy here. And she needs to be back in the courtroom ruling on my case. So I'm just going to leave this as that. And yes, I won my appeal against her pro se. But I want to make it absolutely clear to pro se litigants, you have to know the law. There is AI and Google and other platforms. You can ask questions and they will give you answers to the law. Normal research, you do Google and they say, Google, you enter such and such, but Google will not give you an appropriate answer. So you use AI, you'll get a better answer there, but you have to understand what you get back. What you get back, you've got to know how to plead it properly. And you've got to know how to match it up to the evidence, the laws, the inappropriate actions of the court. You've got to know the rules of the court, the rules of law. And this is easy. This is easy. You just Google the rules of civil procedures in Dallas, Texas, or Texas. You got the rules of quorum, the canon rules. And you read that and you're going to see how you could be right. You could be correct. And once you know you're right and once you know you're correct, the next hurdle is getting them to respect you. That's the next thing. Because they see pro se, disrespect. I got a federal judge, Scott Everett, to respect me because when he was sending my home back that I deemed a homestead property that they can't sell, they can't sell it. And there's even a list pendez on the county's website that they can't even take it and sell it, but yet they want it. He said, yeah, he can do that. And I said, no, Your Honor. And I read him under 11 USC, I think it's 263, you cannot release a property from a bankruptcy court in order to sell it so you can pay off creditors or you can satisfy a debt. And he did it. I appealed him, just like I appealed Purdy. And in the appeal went to a new judge called Judge Fish, Joe Fish, I think. Believe that, in federal court. And I have that appeal there. But in my appeal, after I did my appeal, like I did Purdy's appeal, I also filed a motion. And in my motion was to stay the property, not send it back. I know he wasn't going to do it, but I needed him to know that if you play around with me, I'm going to take you to the appeals court and get a reversal decision. So he wrote back and says, no, these cases belong in state court, blah, 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 blah. And I'll do another video on that. But you have to let the justices know or the judges know you are on the law. You understand how the law operates. You understand when the law is violated, how the law comes down on the violators, and then you present your evidence as to they violated and the law. The minute you start putting people above the law, like my ex wants to be above the law, her attorney Warner wants to be above the law and escape this nonsense that they're doing, you've got an injustice system. And that's why I'm here, to correct all of that. So let's see what Purdy does. I'm going to give it a benefit of the doubt. I did file a motion with her on the 27th for her to expedite this case and take it to trial. Today is, like I said, September 9th. She's done nothing. The reason I asked the appeals court to dismiss the case and remand it back to her, she was incorrect, and I won that argument, is because now if she doesn't listen, I don't have to go back to the confusion of the old case. I can do a new violation of their command order that they asked her to do and she didn't do it. Now let her opponent, Mrs. Smith, what is it, Greg Smith, and the Republican who is going to run against or may run against or may not, deal with that. But you gotta do your job. If you want to get the appellate court and the appellate court tells you to order you to do something and you don't do it, how is that going to reflect on you? And this is the minority. You cheated a minority. You allow a minority to be cheated and defrauded. And you want the very seat of the orders of those judges to come and sit. So here's a question for Judge Purdy. And I'm saying I have a feeling the clerks are not telling her what's going on. I'm just going to give her that for now, because the filing in the court didn't say this was an expedited. It just says it's filed under such and such and such. Didn't seem like an emergency. That's why I'm doing a TRO Thursday or Friday, to get it to come out from your campaigning and rule on my case. Okay, you can't get the appeals court and deny me my seat in city council, and the appeals court is telling you, get back to work, Get out your campaigning. Go do your job. But I'm just going to chalk this up to her clerks and not telling her what's going on. And because I have another issue with clerks not telling judges what's going on. And the judges didn't know the clerks was doing this kind of stuff in a certain case. And I have a feeling now that she does, she's corrected that. So I'm just going to give Judge Purdy a break here. Just going to give her a break. And I'm going to file my emergency motion. And if I have to go back to the appeals court, it's going to, I tell you, it's going to harm her. And it's her own doing. You've got to watch your cases, especially political cases. This is a political case. You've got to watch it. Because in politics, I talk. Other judges talk. Other candidates, people talk. Right? So her opponent is going to look at this and is going to say, in any debate, and I go to debates. I didn't go to debates. I asked questions and I nailed them wherever they try to talk on social media or where platform they go. That's what I did to Denise Garcia. I went after her and her husband at the same time. He was trying to pretend he was a preacher, but he was doing all kind of nonsense against her opponent that was fabricated. So that's why I went after her. So let's just say her opponent, Mrs. Smith, gets a hand on this and says, well, you know, we, the justices, commanded you to take action and you're out campaigning. How do you explain that? And this is a minority who was defrauded and robbed of a seat, and we commanded you, because all in one is one and all in the appeals, in the justices in the appeals court. So you were commanded by 3 justices to go back immediately, and this is a Texas case, and you didn't do it. So how it is, you are refusing to obey an order from the appeals court justices, but you want to be an appeals court justice. That's going to harm her. But that's not on me. I'm just reporting this to you to tell you that I was cheated, I was robbed, and this is the judge that is supposed to be giving me my redemption and giving me the seat, and she didn't. This is Serrano Keith Baldio. There's no legal advice here. Wherever you see this, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, do not forget to like and share and follow and subscribe so people can know what's going on in the Dallas judicial system. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.